Ciao, I'm Mary Ann Esposito. Today on Ciao Italia, cooking from northern Italy, Yota e fritelle di formaggio. Ciao, I'm Mary Ann Esposito. Welcome to Italy, and let's cook real Italian. Aren't they gorgeous? Swiss chard. I knew you said that. I'm in heaven. Think about how healthy this is. That's for you. Sundae sauce. All 20 regions of Italy are fabulous. And every time I do this, I think of my Nonna Galasso because she always made it this way. You want a Goldilocks dough, just right. Who doesn't like basil, especially in the summer? Obviously, you have to have pesto sauce at some point, right? I mean, I'm a cook. Why can't I try it? You're the best.
No, you're the best.
Today, I want to make you something that I really enjoyed when I was in the Friuli Venezia Giulia region. I like saying that, all three words together. And this is something called fritelle, and fritelle translates to fritters. So these are going to be fritters, and you want to start out by using some stale bread. So you just take some stale bread and just put it in a bowl. Probably need 2 or 3 slices. I'm not going to use the crust on this. And then I'm just going to let this soak. You want to do this ahead of time before you do everything else in the recipe because this has got to soak for about 30 minutes, I would say. Just enough to moisten it. And just mash it up a little bit and let it sit there until this milk is absorbed by the bread. So, I mean, that's pretty bland. Just bread? No, no. We're going to add other things to this. 2 really great things that I saved for you today. One of them is this wonderful cheese. This is Montasio, and Montasio comes from the region of Friuli Venezia Giulia. And it's a cow's milk cheese, and it's been made for a very long time. And when you buy it, you want to look on the rind till you see the word Montasio. And if you're in a delicatessen that sells cheeses like this, you'll see the consortial seal on the cheese, and you might even see a stylized M for Montasio, because this is a mountain cheese. This is an alpine cheese, and it's a cow's milk cheese. And you can get it fresh. There's fresco, there's mezzano, there's stagionato, and there's stravecchio. And we're using the mezzano, which means that this cheese has been aged for about 5 to 10 months. That's the first wonderful ingredient that we're going to use. The second wonderful ingredient is in this paper. It's like getting a Christmas present. And it is Prosciutto di San Daniele. Beautiful. This is a wonderful ham. This ham comes from Friuli Venezia Giulia, and it is a DOP product like the cheese, which means that it has to come, these hams have to come from certain pigs that are bred in northern Italy. They have to feed on certain types of grains, and they have to be produced according to the consortial's rules. So this is a salted and air-dried ham because it has the perfect micro-condition that allows this ham to be cured with nothing else but salt. So it's a really natural product. So we're going to be using this in our fritters. So we've got the cheese and we've got the ham. So let me set that aside. And where are you going to find this? Well, you're going to have to go to a good Italian deli. So we're soaking our milk, and we're going to have the fritters with a pepper sauce. So we're going to use beautiful red sweet bell peppers. And so you get yourself some nice hearty peppers that are not soft or gushy, and you put them under the broiler, or you could put them on your grill, and you blacken them, just like this, whole. Don't do anything to them. Blacken them until they're like this, you see? And then you can just peel off that skin, because we're going to use the peppers to make just a very simple sauce that's going to go with the fritters. So you take your time to peel off all that blackened skin. Meanwhile, having grilled them or having them under the broiler has given them a really nice flavor. So you take all that off, and then you pull out the core like that. And you'll see that there's a lot of juice there and a lot of seeds. So the mistake that a lot of people make is that they now rinse the peppers in the sink. That is a big no-no. Instead, you wipe them out with paper towel so you don't wash away a lot of the beautiful flavor of the peppers. So you get all those seeds out, put them in a container, and then I use my blender to do this. So let me wipe my hands off, get this out of the way. Okay. Beautiful. See how fast that was? Okay, so there's our pureed peppers. And now what we need to do is take these and give them a little bit of flavor. So I'm going to put some olive oil in a pan. And the next thing we want to add is some garlic. So some minced up garlic. And you really got to watch garlic. You don't want that to burn. So we want that to flavor the oil. And this is just going to be a sauce that goes underneath the fritters. You don't have to have this. You could eat the fritters just the way they are. But I like them with the red pepper sauce. So get the garlic fragrant. And we're going to let this sauce cook for just maybe 5 minutes or so. You could add other things to it. If you wanted to have herbs, you could put some fresh parsley in, fresh basil, whatever you want. All right, so now we're going to add the peppers. Stir that around. I'm going to cook this over medium-low heat. And we want to give it some pepper, black pepper, a nice grinding, and some salt, a little salt. Okay, 5 minutes later, this sauce is ready. So you can make the sauce ahead of time, and then you can make the fritters, and then everything can go together at one time. Okay, we're going to let that cook now for about 5 minutes. So I want to grate up about 2.5 cups of the Montasio cheese, that beautiful cheese from the Friuli Venezia Giulia region, which, by the way, I need to show you, is right up here. See? Right up there. Really country kind of cooking, lots of mountains, the Alps. Oh, beautiful area. And the cows that make this cheese feed on really pristine grasses. Okay, so that's enough. And did I say that this is a really good melting cheese? It's a wonderful melting cheese, as well as a good table cheese. When it's young, you know, 2 to 4 months, it's a great table cheese. And as it gets older, it's a great grating cheese. So we've got the cheese, and let me check this now. So now we have mushy bread. See, that's all gotten kind of soft. And now we can add the other ingredients to this. So we want eggs. So for this, we want 3 eggs. Because these fritelle are going to be fried. They're going to be fried. And they're best eaten when they're warm, of course. But you could make them ahead of time, and then you could just reheat them. So 3 eggs. We want to give this a little bit of salt. A little salt. A little grinding of pepper. And then we just want to beat them up. So whisk them until they're all nicely well combined. That's good. Now we want to add the eggs to the bread. Goes in. Mix that around. You'll say, that's never going to hold together, and you're absolutely right, because we need to add the cheese. Seems like a lot, but believe me, you need it all. There's the cheese. And we need the prosciutto di San Daniele that we've already crisped. Gives it a nice texture. That goes in. So this is great for a party. Really great for a party. Because it's different. You know, who wants cheese and crackers? Go for the fritelle. You mix that around, and we have to add to this some garlic. So let me move this out of the way and get a garlic clove going here. So fresh garlic. I keep telling you, don't use garlic in a jar. It's much too pungent. And it's been sitting in a jar for a long, long time. So we don't want to, you know, really over garlic this. So just one clove of garlic is fine. You mince it up. Okay, garlic's good. Let's put that in. Now all we need is the parsley. So we want to use really great looking fresh herbs all the time in Italian cooking. That's the beauty of Italian food, is that it's quality ingredients, not quantity, quality. So the parsley, just want to mince that up, stems and all. I keep telling you, the stems are part of the flavor. That goes in. And now we just mix that up, and we're going to let this get cold. You want this to chill for about 30 minutes or so, because it'll be a lot easier to form the fritelle. Okay, I think they're ready. And you can test one by putting a small piece in the oil. You want to get your oil to 375 degrees. Now, you can do this two ways. You can mound them up on spoons and plop. You can roll them under the palm of your hand. If your hands are getting too sticky, you can dip them into some flour. You want to roll them like meatballs. See? About that size. Or you can make them smaller. My friend Ruth serves these as little mini, like olive size. So there's one. And I know that they're going to fry up beautifully because they're holding together and they're not falling apart. It's important really to chill this mixture. And the bread is in there and the egg to hold this whole thing together. But the flavor for this is really coming from the Prosciutto di San Daniele and Montasio, those two fabulous products from the Friuli Venezia Giulia region. Okay, so here's my fourth one. I'll make 4. And I'm using vegetable oil for this, not olive oil. Olive oil would make these much too heavy. So you want to use good vegetable oil. You could use sunflower oil, saffron oil. All right, there's the 4th one. They look about the same size. I'm going to wash my hands now before we put them in the oil. Just the best thing to do with these, as I said, is to serve them warm. They're best served warm, and of course we're going to serve them over that wonderful red pepper sauce that we made. So now we can drop them into the oil. And you want them to get like a nice brown, golden brown crust on the outside. And here's a tip. Never ever go anywhere near the oil if you've got water on your spoon or whatever it is, because you could really get burned that way. You've got to be really, really careful. So don't be in a hurry to turn them. This is the kind of thing where you have to abbia pazienza. You have to have patience. And I can see as they're getting a little crusty on the edge, I can turn them. Look at that. See how pretty that is? Imagine that Montasio cheese in the middle is going to get all nice and creamy, beautiful. So when they're nicely browned like that, you want to use a slotted spoon and take them out onto paper towels. So there's our first one. Beautiful. That one's not quite ready, but this one is. Let all that excess oil come off before you put them on the paper. Aren't they gorgeous? So there they are. That's how you make the fritelle. I'm in the mood for soup, but not just any soup. There's a soup that I really love from here, the Friuli Venezia Giulia region, that's called Yota, Y-O-T-A, sometimes spelled J-O-T-A, but pronounced Yota, Yota. And the soup is really hearty, but you know what? We're going to go cross-cultural today because I want to flavor that soup with something really special that comes from here, the Trentino Alto Adige, and that would be speck, a really delicious, cured and lightly smoked ham. So let's get started. And these are borlotti beans, also known as cranberry beans. So when you go to the store, you can find these in the grocery store, you want to buy the dried bean. You don't want to start with canned beans. I mean, you could, but it isn't going to be as good. So here we have the dried borlotti, or the cranberry, and you have to soak them overnight. You want them to be really plump. So you soak the beans, and you see, look at the difference between this and this. We are soaking the beans in order to soften the cell wall of the beans and make it a lot easier to cook these in a lot less time. So if you weren't soaking the beans overnight, you'd be waiting forever for these to soften as you're cooking them. So we have the beans, and then we need some herbs. So here we have some fresh rosemary, we've got some fresh thyme, and we have got some fresh sage. And all I really want to do is tie that up, make that into a little bouquet garni. So you want to use kitchen string for that. And just tie it up. This is going to flavor those beans nicely. And we're going to throw this in a pot with some vegetable broth. So in it goes with the beans. Now this isn't all there is to this soup. We're going to add other things, but you have to be patient. And we add about 8 cups of vegetable broth. Enough broth to really cover the beans. We give this a little bit of salt, not too much because you want to flavor this at the end too, and pepper. Mix it up. You put it on the burner. Over medium-high heat, bring it to a boil, and then cover it and lower the heat and let it simmer until about 20 minutes, just until they're starting to taste really tender. You're going to have to try one. So that's the bean part of that, but now we have to get the other ingredients that go in the soup. Speck, yes. So when you buy it, of course, when you buy this ham, you want to make sure that it's layered on paper like this so that it's easy for you to get it off, you see? And speck, this is that wonderful air-dried and lightly smoked ham that comes from the Sud Tyrol in the region of Alto Adige. And it is an absolutely delicious ham just to eat as is, but it's also great in cooking. It's cured with salt and spices, and then it's lightly smoked. And again, it has that microclimate that is just perfect for aging this ham. So I'm going to use it with the Yota, with the soup. So I've already minced this ham up. You want about 1/2 cup. So here it is, ready to go. And I've got some olive oil in a saute pan. So we want to add some onion to this. along with the speck. Goes in. This is going to give a really nice flavor to the soup. And it's a very, very hearty soup because, as I say, we're in mountain country here, and this is where you have really rich, hearty country dishes. So while that is cooking down a little bit, we have to get this. Oh yes, I am sure that a lot of you love sauerkraut. Here's sauerkraut, and this is just canned sauerkraut that we rinsed and allowed to drain well, so it's pretty dry. And again, cabbage. Cabbage is something that you find in this particular regions of Italy in the north. You find it in the Trentino, you find it in the Friuli, you find it even in Lombardia. So lots of cabbage dishes. So cabbage is an integral part of the soup. And you want to cook this maybe just about 5 minutes, because this is going to go directly into the soup. So in goes all of that sauerkraut. That was 1 can. I believe it was about 14.5 ounces, but you can check that online. Mix that all around. Make sure it's well mixed and let it go. While this is cooking down, we need to make the paste that goes with this soup. So all you need is some butter, a little bit of butter and flour. You want to melt the butter in a pan, add the flour, then take a whisk and whisk the mixture until it's nice and smooth. Don't let it get too dark. When it's well blended, then you want to add it to the beans and the sauerkraut and the speck mixture and let it cook. So in go the potatoes. Give that a stir. Put the top back on. And maybe 20 minutes later, we're ready to eat this. We're ready for the sauerkraut and the wonderful speck that's in here. So that all goes in. Now this is really going to thicken this soup. Really, look at how hearty that looks. Thicken that. I'm going to take out the bouquet garni now, because we don't need that. That's flavored the soup beautifully. So you really want to mix that well. And you want the beans cooked so that they're still holding up. They're still holding their shape. And the potatoes are cooked. So now all we have to do is mix in the roux. So that's the flour and the butter mixture. So you get that all in. And then you whisk. And the whole idea here is to thicken this soup even more. So you get it all mixed in there. And then you sample. You sample for seasoning. I always keep my trusty little spoons handy. And let me get a bean to make sure. A little sauerkraut. It's delicious. Even those who don't like sauerkraut will love this soup. So there you have it. Yota, a great soup from mountain country in Italy. Today I showed you 2 great recipes from the Friuli Venezia Giulia region. You've got to try them at home. First, we made this wonderful fritelle di formaggio. And remember, we used Montasio cheese in that and Prosciutto di San Daniele. And then we made this hearty, wonderful soup called Yota, which has sauerkraut and beans and potatoes and herbs. And it's all ready for the eating. It's a great mountain dish from northern Italy. And until I see you nella cucina again, I'm Mary Ann Esposito. Ciao!